a lot of reasons why people might fail to achieve their goals. Today I want to talk about one that is often overlooked, and that's the standards that you hold yourself to. Standards of behavior, standards of accountability. I can't hold you to standards you haven't set. You can't hold yourself to standards you haven't set. When people talk about setting goals, they think about the outcome, right? Even go as far as to set SMART goals: specific, measurable, action-based, realistic, and time-bound. So they set the goals. They even discuss their why. Why do I want to accomplish this thing? Why is it so important to me? They come up with a process. Okay, I got to do this and this and this on this day. These are my daily actions. These are my weekly actions. Here's my monthly reflections. And that's all very detailed and all very important. All of those must be done if you want to set effective goals and achieve them. But there's a deeper conversation. If you really want to achieve your goals, there has to be these standards of accountability, standards of behavior. The goal is what you want to achieve. The process is how you achieve it. The why is why it's so important to you. Why is it so significant? But the standards are the deeper meaning of who you are. Not just why it's so important, but what is it going to do to you? Your goals should not just be something you want to attain. Your goals should be something or some things that change you. You should achieve a goal and you should have changed mindset, changed perspective, changed behaviors, consistent behaviors, not just, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months, and then what? You go back to who you were before? That caused you to gain all of that weight or to be out of shape? You attain education and training because you want to be better at something. You take lessons or you get a coach or a mentor or an instructor, not just to achieve something, but to change who you are. And so if your goals aren't changing you, then you need to reevaluate your goals, why you want to achieve what you want to achieve. You can come up with a plan, the process of how you want to achieve the specific goals you have set for yourself. The stress, pressure, anxiety, and adversity. Those 4 words are extremely important. Stress, pressure, anxiety, and adversity. They do not define you. They expose you. They expose you for who you are. And if you are not changing, if you are not adapting and not just overcoming things, but changing who you are and what you stand for and why you do the things that you do and the consistent behaviors, you're missing the point. That's why people lose weight and then they gain it, but then they usually gain it back in larger amounts because they go back to old beliefs or behaviors. And your belief system is really deep inside you, and that is really challenging to change. But that is the goal, is not just behavior change, but your belief about the behaviors, your belief about your worth, your self-worth. And most people don't think they have self-worth issues. It's not about believing you're a good person, right? That's a start. But it's also belief of being worthy of achieving a goal, which means you have to be worthy of the behavior change, and you have to want the behavior change. So I get up at, I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym. I do it at first it was to beat the traffic, go to the gym close to my work, and I beat the traffic, I get in my workout, and then after my workout, I've only got a 10-minute drive through a few city lights, light traffic, works, right? Well, the added benefit was I'm holding myself accountable to go to the gym. So now I'm in the habit of waking up early, going to the gym. Okay, got it. I'm experienced in this. I can manage a program and a process. Okay, but I want to dial it in. So I work on optimizing my workouts so that I'm getting the most out of the time that I'm spending there. So I go to the gym 3-4 days a week during the week, and then one time on the weekend, or I'll do some active rest or something like that. So 4 to 5 days a week was my goal. Okay, so got it. So now I'm in the habit of waking up, packing my bag the night before, go to the gym. So I'm doing all these things. But even though it's still becoming easier to get up in the morning, what is the deeper meaning behind this? Am I just doing all this to beat traffic? Because that really isn't good enough. What am I trying to accomplish here? I do a lot of videos where I talk about 50 lessons at 50, right? Because I'm in my 50s, and I've got a lot of experience that I wouldn't mind passing on to people in their 20s and 30s of things that I wish I knew in my 20s and 30s. But in my 50s, what am I actually trying to do? I'm at that point where I'm beyond being a competitor. I don't compete, even, things like CrossFit, but, far beyond football and rugby and hockey and all the things that I used to love doing. Even hiking is becoming challenging for many reasons. But the point I'm trying to make is I'm beyond being a competitor. Now what am I competing for? Because I love the idea of competing. Okay, well then the next logical progression is I'm competing against myself. Well, that's easy to do, because I could sleep in until 8 o'clock, sit through rush hour traffic, and still be okay with myself, right? So what does it mean to compete with yourself? What am I pushing for? And so there has to be a deeper meaning. And mine usually has something to do with I'm actually not competing against my current self. I'm competing against myself 20 years from now. Because if that's what I want to communicate about the lessons at 50 that are effective in your 20s and 30s, well, that means that I wish I would have known these things 20, 30 years ago. Okay, well, what do I want to do to set myself up for success 20 years from now? So even though I've got a lot of success, I could still fail and have a miserable 60s and 70s. It would be easy to do. But I don't want to do that. And in order to not do that, I'm trying to set myself up to change my thought process, my belief system, the really deep down stuff that matters, that is going to allow me to continue to do the things that I do, even when I'm feeling stress and pressure, even when I feel like I don't want to do it. What is it that is going to drive you on the days? And your why is important, but there has to be standards to hold yourself accountable to. Not just why you do the things you do, but who are you at your core? What do you stand for? I want to be the person that when I'm 60 years old, I can, not as in outward affection of people looking at me and saying, wow, look at this dude, but for me to look at myself and say, wow, look at what I'm doing at 60 years old. Holy crap. One of those things for a long time, I'm a firm believer that strength should be the number one thing. I love the idea of endurance. I don't love it. I think endurance is an important thing. Muscle endurance, flexibility, all those things that all the different things that you can train for. But I've always been somebody to believe that strength should be the foundation of well-being. And science has proven that. One of the largest predictors of well-being throughout your lifespan, late in life, is leg strength. Because not only are you strong enough to manage your life on your own, but you're not susceptible to things like falls, which when you talk about elderly people, what do you hear a lot about? They can't take care of themselves, they're in danger, fall and hurting themselves, like those kind of things that you think about being old. And leg strength is a large predictor of well-being late in life. And so overall strength I think has been important. So one of the goals that I've had for a long time is the 1,000-pound club. I don't want to be a power lifter, but those 3 lifts that go into powerlifting, squat, deadlift, and bench press, are pretty foundational to the overall strength of the body. Those are the biggest areas of your body. And I've gotten close, and on a couple of deployments, I was close, but I was, 20, 30 pounds short. I wasn't able to get it. Well, now, and that was 42, 43, when I was actually still in really good shape. And now, even though I've had some issues where I'm not able to do some of the things that I was able to do before, I still have that goal of the 1,000-pound club, and I'm actually closer now than I have been than I was almost 10 years ago. At 51, I could still hit that 1,000-pound club. I surprised myself. I didn't think thought I was going to have to get it up. But I'm doing it smart, right? I don't want to blow my back out in order to make that happen. That doesn't make any sense. But why do I want to do it? Well, because I want to be self-sufficient for as long as possible, so I'm not a burden to other people. And that is still kind of outward, focused on other people, but it still is an emphasis on me. I want to be self-sufficient because I want the most well-being, the best well-being, the highest level of well-being I can have as long as possible. Because I want to be there with my friends, I want to be there with my wife, I want to be there with my kids, eventually grandkids, and anybody else that I meet between now and then. And so there's a deeper meaning. And people say, well, that sounds like a why. Well, kind of, but it's deeper than that. It goes to who I am. Who do I am? What do I represent? I represent a self-sufficient person who can take care of themselves throughout their lifespan. And I think people muddy up and they have these vague whys of the Simon Sinek idea of why. I don't think they go deep enough into the core of who they are. And so rather than saying, I want to work out because, and you fill in the blank, instead, I want to work out, instead of what's your why, which usually ends up being a goal, is who are you at the core? And what is your goal going to do to change who you are? To change the surface level behaviors, but then to change your thinking patterns, to change your habits and behaviors, but then to dig real down deep and change your belief systems and who you are, so that you can keep pushing to be a better person, to have better belief systems. So my challenge for you this week is not just a why, but a who. Who are you? What are your goals going to do to you? And set your standards of who you are, so that when you face stress, pressure, anxiety, and adversity, you are challenged, but that you rise to the challenge because of who you are, not what you want to accomplish.